Hello everyone. So the internet is on fire right now if you're a Whovian, because Paul McGann was back as the Doctor. I mean, for an actual filmed episode, even if it's a short episode, because the guy's been like doing the Doctor for many years for Big Finish. So it's not like it's not like it's not the second time he does the Doctor again. He's been doing the Doctor for years, but now he's back. Like, I don't want to say like as a proper Doctor story, because that's not fair to Big Finish and the novels and all that. But I mean, like, we can see him, and that does add something. And it's really funny because the night of the Doctor, like before I saw it on the 14th, I was actually out with someone, and we had a conversation, and I was mentioning how I was sure that John Hurt Doctor would be cool, but how unfair it was to Paul McGann in a way. I was like, they could have brought him back, was my point. And I was like, yeah, they could have brought him back, because it's kind of unfair that they skip him, because I'm pretty sure he'd do it. And so that conversation was still fresh in my mind, and I come back home, and I see that. And the funny thing is, when I started it, and you hear, "I'm a Doctor," and the thing is, because I just heard, like, I started listening to the Big Finish Doctor Who audio dramas, and many of them with the 8th Doctor. And because I was still, how can I put this? I started listening to them now, and it's a sound-only medium. So you kind of like train your ear to recognize the characters right away just from the voice. Especially my first Doctor Who audio drama was The Light at the End. And you have like 5 doctors in it. Well, I mean, 5 main featured doctors in that story. More if you count the cameos, but you cannot get used real quick to recognizing characters only by their voice. So when I heard "I'm a Doctor," like, I clicked right away, and I realized, like, wait, is that? And I like it's kind of like I started thinking about it. Like, I knew that, like, from that second, I knew it wasn't Tennant, I knew it wasn't Smith, I knew it wasn't Hurt. And like, the only thing that stopped me from realizing it right away was how impossible it seemed to me that it would be McGann. And then I see him, and I had to pause it right there. Well, I mean, not right there, sorry, like, when he says, I'm a Doctor, but probably not the one you were expecting. And then we go to the credits, and I had to pause it. And it wasn't because I wasn't eager to see the rest. I just had to take it in. Like, I couldn't just continue without assimilating the fact that it was McGann who was back. And while I paused it, I texted the person I had the conversation with, and I was like, you have to watch this. I was so happy for McGann. Yeah, he's someone I don't even know. He doesn't like need my approval or anything. So I guess I find myself silly saying I feel happy for him, but I do. I really do, because he was so good in the role. And anyone who sees the TV movie, like, their opinions of the movie itself will be varied, but everyone agrees that McGann did a good job. Like, that's like the thing that I've never. I mean, of course there's some people who say McGann wasn't good, because everyone has their own opinion, and the world is a big place, but like, I personally cannot remember of a single instance when someone said that he did not do a good job. So everyone knew that he was good as the Doctor, and now we see him back, and that was such a good story. So on the review side of things, I want to say, first of all, that Stephen Moffat wrote a solid script, and McGann just like took the opportunity he was given to portray in film his version of the Doctor again, and just ran with it. And they both Moffat and McGann did an awesome job. And that was so epic. That was like one of the, I think that's probably the most epic short film I've ever seen. And it was very like, I don't want to say poetic, because that word is overused and it doesn't exactly apply, but in a way it was. It's just everything was perfect, everything was meaningful, no time was wasted. Like the fact that at first it seems like the doctor gets a new companion, and the way it kind of like, that episode, like, I mean, it starts with the doctor you didn't expect. I was expecting maybe the John Hurt doctor. I thought that would be the surprise, you know? And it starts with a doctor you don't expect, then with a twist you don't expect, which is like the possible companion actually like preferring to die than go with the doctor into the TARDIS. You know, we're so used to the TARDIS being this whimsical thing and of wonder, and to have someone react with such like disgust to it and fear was really unsettling. And again, like, and this is a praise both for I'm gonna put the Dalek aside because like it's not like when I'm playing with the size screwdriver it feels right, but I'm kind of like holding this toy. There it is. Yeah, so, and this is praised both for Moffat and McGann, in the sense that Moffat really got the character of the Eighth Doctor, and McGann did not lose a beat, of course, because he's been portraying the character for a long time now with the Big Finish audio dramas, but you get instantly that character is kind of like, he's a romantic doctor. I don't mean necessarily, well, I mean, he's the first doctor who kissed a girl on screen, so it's romantic in a traditional sense, but I also mean romantic in the sense of like romance, and not only in the sense of you know, like being with women, and I just mean like in kind of like in his values, in his way of acting, of seeing the world, and he's such a romantic doctor, and like, and you see it right away in the way he doesn't want to leave the girl there, because okay, I'm not even going to mention which ones I think would have left, because that I don't want to get in an argument with someone, but I think some incarnations of the Doctor would have left the girl there. Like, they would have been like, come with me, please. Yeah, they would have tried to save her, they would have insisted, but when they would see the girl staying there, I think some incarnations of the Doctor would have been like, I did all I could, and would have gone back to the TARDIS. That's my personal opinion. Maybe some people disagree, and I think it's arguable. Like, I'm not like 100% set on the idea that, but I think some incarnations of the Doctor, like, they would have put themselves in danger. They would have tried to convince a girl, but when they saw like it was getting to that last second, they would have gone inside the TARDIS. That's my opinion. But like for the Eighth Doctor, of course he would have stayed to the end for this girl he doesn't even know, like, because that's the kind of character he was. That's and I just love it's. And you know, the whole thing where he's told that he has 4 minutes left to live, and he's like, that's an eternity. And he like, I have to, like, what if I get bored? Bring me a TV. He's like, knitting. You know, that was, and McGann delivers it with like, he's funny and he has gravitas, and of course everyone wants to see more of that Doctor, and they're talking like maybe a possible. I mean, the fans are talking about it, like do a mini series with him, and I would love to see that. Now, what else? The outfit. I really like the outfit. In fact, I like it more than the original, obviously, but of the Eighth Doctor. But I like it more than the Big Finish new outfit with the leather. I mean, the Big Finish one was nice. Don't get me wrong, but and I get what McGann wanted to go with because that was based on his ideas. But I feel like. You know, that Doctor, I don't see the Eighth Doctor with a leather jacket, but then again, it makes sense for that story, because in the Big Finish audios where the Doctor is at, he's in a darker place. But for the Eighth Doctor, like, it felt right that, yeah, he has, like, a more battered clothes, like, maybe a bit more practical and, you know, dirty and gritty, but at the same time, it's still, like, the Eighth Doctor, you know, and I do feel like there's a sense of maybe romance and whimsy around the Eighth Doctor that should remain there to a certain extent. But that's my personal opinion, because I also remember liking the Dark Eyes outfit. Dark Eyes is the storyline from the Big Finish audio dramas where he has the kind of like leather jacket, and because it kind of felt like a transition from the Eighth Doctor to the Ninth Doctor in a way, outfit wise. So I did like, I think of the three outfits the Eighth Doctor has had, the one that we saw in the Night of the Doctor is by far my favorite, and I love that belt, like the S belt, and it's just like, and the way that you see he's wearing this white shirt that's kind of like dirty now, and I just love the details of it. It just felt like, and the TARDIS is all like roughed up, you know. Now, one nitpick, however, I do find it's a shame that, well, I mean, I understand maybe it had to do with legal issues, or maybe it's just a matter of like, you know, that's how it was prepared, and they didn't think about it, or Megan didn't bring it, because I think it's Megan who has the actual object. It's the sonic screwdriver from Dark Eyes, from Big Finish, the new one, that the Eighth Doctor has. It's a beautiful piece. It's really like this kind of like, maybe a bit too big for my taste, because it's like lightsaber size at this point, but it's really like this beautiful piece, which is kind of like golden plated, like golden metal with like wood all around. It has wood like, and it has tubes going into this big crystal, blue crystal, and it's kind of like, you can imagine it's kind of like maybe a more primitive version of the screwdriver that screwdriver that the Ninth Doctor has afterwards. But I just found it was like a beautiful prop and a beautiful piece, that sonic screwdriver. And to go back to the one that he had before, like, I thought that was maybe a step back for the Doctor. I realized that people who haven't like seen the sonic screwdriver from the audio dramas, to them, like, of course the Doctor will have the same sonic screwdriver he had in the TV movie. But to me it was kind of a shame, because I did prefer the new outfit, but I did like the sonic screwdriver that he had in the Big Finish audio dramas. That's not a plot hole, like, that's not like some people were saying, like, it's kind of like, oh, it contradicts. No, it doesn't contradict anything. He could have changed back to an older model for any reason, like maybe that one got broken. Maybe he just felt like carrying the older one for that day. Like, there's plenty of reasons he could come up with. So yeah, that's, you know, look-wise, that's my opinion. After that, what else? Oh yeah, of course, some, like, I'm just flabbergasted at how so many people, well, mostly girls, just want to say that Moffat is a sexist. Like, oh, Moffat is such a sexist. And I read this really stupid article, where this girl writes, oh, you know, he includes that the Doctor could have become a woman, you know, from the cups. And then her point is that it was sexist that he chose to be a man for the war, because, you know, like, oh, what, a woman couldn't have been a war doctor, and that was the argument. I was like, wow, people are really, like, at this point they're really trying to find something against Moffat. Like, it's kind of, like, Moffat just gives us this wonderful episode that respects the past, brings back a Doctor that didn't get his fair due, and gives him a chance to shine again, gives the fans a scene they always wanted, like the Eighth Doctor's regeneration. How did his life, how did this incarnation end? Even includes the possibility, he says, yeah, he could have been a woman this time around. So it's kind of like he's going like, you know, and maybe Moffat won't want to do it, but he's leaving the door open for someone else to do it. And I know that also Neil Gaiman and the Doctor's wife introduced the notion officially, if you will. But I mean, you know, I respect that Moffat doesn't want to do the female Doctor, but still says, because in an old interview in the magazine from years ago, he said that to him, the reason why he wouldn't change the sex of the Doctor is because to him that would be a stretch where at this point is it still the same person. Really, like, it would be harder to imagine, because every incarnation is different, so it's already kind of a stretch to imagine Matt Smith is William Hartnell. But if you change the sex, then it's kind of like even harder to imagine, okay, that's William Hartnell. So that's his argument. But he also adds, in the same interview, he says, but that's a rule, and rules are meant to be broken. So his point was like, okay, it's, you know, in his opinion, that's not for him to do, because it's not the story he wants to tell as a showrunner, but he's not against someone else doing it. That's basically what it means, and I respect that. And his reasons for the Doctor not being a woman are not sexist, they're just like they come from another place. They come more from the angle of, for me, it would separate him too much from the original one. Okay. And you can have arguments against that, of course, but what I mean is, like, that's how he feels about it. And I want to remind everyone, he's the one who created River Song, who's basically the modern equivalent of the female Time Lord. She's not exactly a Time Lord, but she's, with the Time Lord and everything haven't happened, that's the closest we'll get. He gave us River Song, who's extremely competent. He gave us Vastra and Jenny. And yeah, I get that Amy is defined by her relationship to the Doctor. I get that. And Clara is defined by her relationship to the Doctor, but I don't think that's a sexist thing, because if you look at it, Rory is completely defined by his relationship with Amy, and he's a guy. So I think that's just how Moffat writes characters. That's not him being sexist. It's kind of like, and people even complain like, it's so sexist that Sherlock has to save Irene Adler in the second series of Sherlock. And I'm like, yeah, okay, so every time he saved Watson, I guess it's because it's, unfair to short people that a tall person has to save him. Okay, I'm getting off track now. We were talking about the Night of the Doctor. How awesome was it? And I think, like, tip to the hat to Moffat for adding, the Doctor could be a woman at some point. Like, it's not impossible. I just loved how the Doctor comes to this decision. And the huge thumbs up. And it's funny because I just started listening to the Big Finish audio dramas, but I've known of their existence for years, and I've always known and acknowledged that they kept the Doctor alive for a while when there was no TV. They kind of did very good stories and brought back the original actors, and they kind of like, they were part of the reason between them and the novels and the comics, they kept the Doctor alive for many fans. Before I started being a fan myself, but the respect for me is there for that company. So for the 8th Doctor to mention all of his, well, not all of his companions, sorry, but many of his companions to confirm, yes, a Big Finish stories happen. And of course people will nitpick and they'll go like, oh yeah, but it doesn't confirm they happen exactly like in the Big Finish, or it just means a version of these characters exist. And okay, you know what, if you want to start, like, if you're so against the notion of the audio dramas being in canon, fine, be against it. Like, I'm not even good, because like, if that's not good enough for you, I don't even know what would be at this point. If that's how you want to feel about it, okay. Like, it's like as if they were bothered by the idea that something that wasn't televised would be in canon. Like, it bothers them, and I don't see why. Especially given the respect that Big Finish should be, like, granted for what they did with Doctor Who. Obviously it's a business, sure, but I mean, you can tell it was a business of love. You can tell they really, people who made the Big Finish stories had been fans of the Doctor. That's obvious. And the material they made, comes from the heart, or the two hearts. Anyway, it's just, and it's sort of so funny. A Big Finish, like, they did what's the term? Well, they put the Doctor, like the 8th Doctor stories. They they set their prices lower for a while so people could try them out. And they mentioned, like, or definitely canon stories. That was cute. That was funny. And it's just great, because then it kind of validates the 8th Doctor on so many levels. It validates the work of people who kept the Doctor around when he wasn't on TV. And I always, even when there's small contradictions between like expanded universe stories and expanded Whoniverse, I guess you'd call it, and the main TV series and whatever, I always, like, Moffat really put it well. Like, in a show that has time travel and other dimensions and things that can change around at any moment, no story is ever truly out of canon. And I really like that, because even within the TV series, there's stuff. Genesis of the Daleks did a retcon of Dalek stories from before, because then the timeline shifted. Even in the 2005 series, the first series with Christopher Eccleston, time was changed again. Time War supposedly changed stuff around. For a while we had Cybermen from another dimension instead of the main one. You had the Big Bang at the end of Series 5. So I mean, like, I just think the best way to look at Doctor Who stories, you know, it's kind of like the novelization of like Doctor Who and the Daleks, and it doesn't happen exactly like in the TV series. There's differences, but it doesn't bother me because I read it with that in mind. Like maybe at some point the timeline was set and it happened this way, but then it changed, and like the current version of how the past happened is like the one we saw in the TV series. So for me, this is still valid in a way because of what Moffat said. I just think to myself, well, it can change. So you know, there's no reason. What I mean to say is there's absolutely no reason to dismiss the Big Finish stories. And the Night of the Doctor was just like pure gold for any Whovian. Highly recommended. So yeah, thanks for watching. Bye.